Today I'm going to bring you something a little bit different. Behind me here are two examples of the same boat, but with different layouts. They are both Jeanneau 10.5 metre models. One is the Walkaround model here on the right, and one is the centre console model. They both share the same hull, but they have quite different layouts and accommodation. So rather an interesting opportunity to see how the two differ. This Walkaround model, this is the second generation, recently launched. The centre console model only just came out earlier this year. Both use the same hull. This one has a rather fancy wrap on it. It's the Gulf Racing colours. That's a vinyl wrap, so that's not part of the standard look. But the centre console model over here is the straightforward standard white GRP finish. So don't let the colours put you off. They are both otherwise identical. Now, in terms of pricing, they both start around about £260,000, including VAT, once you've spec'd them up with the hardtop. Now, the centre console model, this one here, comes with a hardtop as standard. It is in fact an option on the Walkaround model, but that adds around £16,000 to the price. So by the time you finish, they both start at about £260,000. In fact, in this particular spec, this model is £302,000. And the Walkaround model in the same spec is £320,000. Now we're going to start with this Walkaround version. No particular reason, it's just probably slightly the more popular of the models at the moment, largely just because it's been around a little bit longer. All outboard power, they start with a pair of 300 horsepower engines and they go up to a maximum of 450 horsepower. Both of these are fitted with the 425 horsepower Yamaha V8s, and that should be good for a speed of about 47 knots. Pretty rapid for a boat of this size. Right, starting at the stern here, first thing to point out, this is in fact an access point for a ski pole, so that opens up and the ski pole slots in there. It is a seriously chunky bit of kit. I'll show you that on one of the boats in a minute. A couple of other things to point out just in terms of warranty. They all get a 7-year structural warranty, 5-year blister warranty and a 3-year overall warranty. Now these new V8 engines, the XTO offshore, really torquey, punchy motors, should be very reliable indeed. They are electronic steering. You can see it's all very neatly packaged on that mounting bracket. Cockpit. Both of them have these rather clever fold-out side benches. You can see this one here is in folded up mode. This one here is the folded down mode. All hangs off these very sturdy looking brackets, and they're very simple in fact to tuck away. If I just lift that up, you'll see they slot very neatly in there. That's largely, of course, if you want to use it as a fishing boat. It means you have perfect access either side. You can fish over the side without the bench getting in the way. This one has a fixed bench at the back. There is some appreciable storage in that. I might just see if I can pop it open. You can see that lifts up there, and you can see there's just a big storage locker underneath there. You could fit water skis or wakeboards or inflatable paddle boards once they've been deflated, of course, but always good to have lots of storage. Manual pump there. Big teak table. I think this is in fact a flexi teak, it's not a real teak. Various different options you can get for this. You can have a straightforward fiberglass one, you can have a real teak one, or you can have this flexi teak. This has the slightly upgraded adjustable height ones. That means that it also drops down, and with that bench folded out, this put down in place, infill cushions in the middle, this can all become one big sunbathing space. Now there is a really big storage area under here as well that I'm just going to briefly show you because it is absolutely enormous. Quite heavy, but check that out. Another vast space. We've got a life raft down there that's pretty much lost down in the bottom of that, but you can fill that up with all kinds of kit. You could definitely get an inflatable tender in there, The batteries are behind that panel in there. See, we've got a slot-in bathing ladder. I'll show you where that goes in a minute. And this is access to the fuel tanks. So you can see that is the sender for the fuel tank, and exactly the same on the other side. Let me just fold that down. Right, put that away. Whilst we're talking fuel tanks, I might just check what they have. So it has twin 400 litre fuel tanks, and that should give you a range of about 204 nautical miles with these engines fitted. So strangely, the 300s you should get about 39 knots. With this one, with the 425s, you get about 47 knots, but you actually get a slightly bigger range with those bigger engines because they're just not working as hard. So often you get more speed and actually better fuel efficiency too. Big wet bar. This is pretty much the same across both boats, but I'll show you the other one in a minute. Lots of storage space, a few good drawers, fridge in there, single burner gas hob, sink. Now on this model you can have a live bait well here. If you're into your fishing, you can have a live bait well in there, and then you get a clear locker lid front to this so that you can actually see what's going on. That will fold down, just gives a nice clean surface. Lots of cup holders everywhere you look. I think I spotted more over here. That is clearly another one of those fold out benches that swing out and up, and you can see those little retaining straps. That's just what you use to keep it securely in place. More cup holders there. And on this Walkaround model, they have a rather lovely folding platform. Now again, that's a little bit different on the center console boat. We'll show you that in a minute. Now this is standard. It is a simple manual folding mechanism. You can see we've got all the winch system here, so you literally pull on that rope and it will pull the whole thing up. That's retaining it. For some reason these rope guards are an option, but this is where that ladder I showed you slots in. You can see those little holes there. That slots in there, and you can have a bathing ladder that goes over the side of this terrace. Rather nice little feature actually. Just gives it a bit of extra space and quite fun. You can imagine kids diving off there. Now WA stands for walk around, and hey presto, we have got Walkaround decks. So nice, somebody playing some tune on the horn of one of those cruise ships, so I apologise for that. But very good Walkaround decks, plenty of space on either side of that helm station. Big sun pad area here, more cup holders. This central cushion lifts up and there is a skylight there. That just lets extra light into the cabin down below, and I'm going to leave it up for the moment so that we can enjoy that when we go down there in a minute. I like the fact that there's a well down here, so just see that we drop off down there, and that means it's when you sat at this seat here, it's just much more comfortable. It's a much more natural seating position. You don't have your knees up by your face. A very distinctive, quite squared off bow on these Jeanneaus. That just means you've got a bigger beam right forward, gives more space down below, and it means you have a good working space here. There is the anchor windlass, control for it, all the chain locker. Good, sensible stuff. Now you probably can notice that it's slightly asymmetric. So the side deck on this side is wider than the side deck on this side. That just gives more space in that helm area and means you get a bit more, well, it's just easier to walk along one side or the other, but it's perfectly easy enough to walk along here. So let's move in here. And this is the helm station. 3 really good seats, very smartly upholstered, good solid bolsters. Little bit of storage under here. It's mainly just an access point, quite basic under there. And that is the gas locker for that burner we showed you earlier. Helm slap bang in the middle of the console. Works very nicely. We've got the throttles for those Yamaha engines. This is fitted with the optional joystick control. So because of that electronic steering, you can literally move the boat sideways and the engines will steer themselves, put them one way, one the other way, one in ahead, one in reverse, and you can move the whole boat sideways just by twisting it and pushing on the joystick. Yet more cup holders here. This has a sort of carbon fibre effect wrap. That is not a standard feature or a factory fit option. It's just something the dealer has chosen to fit, but looks rather smart. Small glove box style there. VHF radio. We've got twin Raymarine screens on this boat. I believe Garmin is usually the kit they fit, but again, that's very much the customer choice. And we've got a bow thruster over here too. So as well as the joystick, you've got a bow thruster, and that's a phone charger. Big speaker system on the boat. I think that is, there are various different upgrades. It comes with a standard Fusion bit of kit, but I think you can upgrade to bigger speakers and higher quality stereo. And then a really surprisingly good cabin down here. Now this is more the kind of cruising version compared to the center console, and it means you do get a good deal more space in here. Lovely big hull windows on both sides, and here you can really see the benefit of that squared off bow. It's a good beam carried a long way forward, and another eye level window. That is that little well recess, that bow bench that I showed you earlier. This is the overhead skylight. Lots of nice artificial lighting in here too, and of course this table here not only slides backwards and forwards, you can see it's on kind of rails there, but that also drops, infills, and that becomes a big double berth up there in the bow. Galley over on the port side, so as well as that wet bar we saw up in the cockpit, there's a decent galley down here, lots of drawers. You can fit a microwave in there if you want to. This boat doesn't have it. Relatively small sink in there, but it has got one. The fridge is behind here. This is the electronics cupboard. So you have got remote control battery switching. You don't have to go down and manually twist the batteries on and off. That is all done on a remote electronic switch. And heads compartment over on the starboard side. Separate toilet and shower in one part of the compartment, and there is a door that pulls across. Oh, there, it's got on a retainer at the moment, but that does mean that the shower is in its own wet compartment, so you don't get a damp floor when you just come in here to use the sink. Got a bit of storage behind there. Nothing overly fancy. Jeanneau are all about affordable, decent quality rather than particularly highly finished or premium model. It's a good workable boat. And then a surprisingly decent cabin under the cockpit. Now this is obviously the second cabin. Infill for here, that just slots in there, so you can have a full double bed down here. Storage all the way around it. All these cupboards open up. So plenty of storage. Not too bad headroom. I'm sitting on the bed now. I just about sit here, just about touches the top of my head. But actually, for a sleeping cabin, that's perfectly acceptable. Hull windows on this side, which lets a bit of natural light in here. I think there's another little hull window behind there, out into the cockpit. So decent amount of natural light up there too, but you can curtain the whole thing off and keep it nice and dark at night. Now this bulkhead here is in fact optional. You can have that all open plan and just have a stainless steel ladder down there. But actually this boat feels perfectly big enough to keep that as a separate cabin and have a bit more privacy all round. Little bit of storage under there. But let's now go and have a look at the center console boat, because that's really what's interesting, is what you get with the different versions. So let's pop across now. Here is the center console model, exactly the same hull. You can see that squared off shape here. Now the first thing to notice is it obviously has an open bow rather than an enclosed one. But let's have a little look on board. Now I mentioned it had a slightly different setup. Rather than a folding terrace, it just has a side door. Makes it very easy to get on and off. It's perfectly situated here, but it does mean you don't get that rather lovely terrace with those ropes around it. What you do get is a big diving ladder under here. And if I lift that up, you can see the full fold out ladder there. That drops a long way down the side of the boat and means you have got access out there as well as from the bathing platforms at the stern. Now this is fitted with exactly the same 425 horsepower V8 engines. It's just got the different colour scheme of that sort of metallic grey rather than those funky white ones that the Walkaround model had. Now if we step on here, again you can see same water ski pole that slots in there. Little locker under there, just a draining locker. Could keep your catch in there if you wanted to. Exactly the same locker under there, so I won't show you that. We've seen these fold-out benches, again the same, but rather than the fixed bench that we saw in the Walkaround model, this has another fold-out one that swings out and down. I might have to get my hand in there. So there you go. You can see that this has that folding bench, so you can completely clear this cockpit if you want to. Now this has the fiberglass table, and in fact it has the standard fixed poles rather than that adjustable height. So this one won't convert into a sun pad, but I'm sure you can have that as an option if you want to. The same wet bar, but this is done in a white gel coat, but essentially exactly the same. Single burner gas hob, sink. Can have the bait well there if you want to. We've already seen that, so I won't show you any more there. And then if we come around forward, this is that ski pole I mentioned. I told you it was big, and it's absolutely massive. I don't think I've seen such a big one, but it does mean that you get good height. If you want to go wakeboarding, you get a nice high toe. Now here is that foredeck seating area. This is clearly one of the big differences. If you're using it for a day boat, you just have this extra outdoor forward bow lounge area. That table slots into the sort of bulkhead there, so you can see that lifts out if you want to. But what a lovely outdoor dining space. It means you've got a good table up front here. You can have the aft cockpit, the forward cockpit, and this rather lovely relaxed kind of daybed effect here with a drop down center armrest, cup holders in both of these. And you can see that this helm area is narrower too. So you've got deep Walkaround decks on both sides of that center console. Rod holders down the sides. Very similar helm station, but what you don't have, of course, is that access point down to the cabin below in the helm station. So you've got 3 good seats here, exactly the same. This one is fitted with a single Garmin screen, but you can see there is plenty of space for a second Garmin screen. Same throttles, same joystick control, slightly different arrangement, not quite sure why, but essentially exactly the same. Glove box over here. Zip wake tabs, so the automatic trim tabs. There is that bow thruster. Oh, off goes the horns again. Again, you can see one of the big subwoofer speakers down here. And then, oh, I'm sorry about that noise. Now, this is the difference. Clearly not nearly such a big cabin down below. So this has a narrower bed here. We've got smaller screens. This doesn't go out to the full width of the boat. You can see that it is, because of those deep Walkaround decks, this is probably only about half as wide as the other boat. There is still a fridge down here, but not the full galley that we saw in the Walkaround model. Still has a second cabin at the stern, but not a separate bulkhead, so it's not nearly as private. It has just got a pull across curtain. Decent sized bed, and there is storage around it, and it's nice and light, but nothing like the size or privacy that you get on a Walkaround model. And the heads compartment is between the two in here, much the same with the toilet in the shower, separate door, so you do keep that all on its own, and then the sink over here. So that is the 2 different versions of the Jeanneau 10.5 model, the camera model, the center console we've just seen, the Walkaround model we saw earlier. 2 different interpretations on the same hull, but one much more focused towards day boating and one which is more of a cruising oriented boat. You still get exactly the same performance, exactly the same hull, exactly the same engines, and it turns out pretty much the same price. But one for day boating and one with a more combined crossover type boat of weekending or even cruising for possibly for a week or so. I hope you've enjoyed having a look at those 2 different models. Do let me know what you make of them, which one you'd prefer. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.